It's v.h.s.x. What do you mean?
Alright everybody, welcome back to a brand new video. Today we're doing a bit of a discussion video talking about the recent videos that Quiet Kills and Scott John have actually posted recently, which is the quitting epidemic is now back in full force. So really unfortunate, but to be expected, right? And I wanted to specifically talk about Scott John's video, as Quiet Kills video is actually just a bit more hilarious, to say the least, in comparison. But this is really something that we've actually seen before in recent memory. I think a few months ago we had something that was dubbed as the Go Next epidemic, and this is no exception. Now, I think it's making its grand return because of the fact that it was always there, and I think that with the addition to an extremely ridiculous PTB pitch that was going to completely destroy the killer side, had brought in a lot of the burnt out Survivor mains that thought that they were gonna have what they deemed a better experience, because there was going to be a lot more hand holding than there would have been normally. And I just think that might have been the case. Obviously, people just really dislike strategies in DBD as a whole. I think that that's where the sort of dislike for Swifts kind of comes from, because coordination does mean strategy and therefore makes the game more difficult. And I think for Survivor it's the same thing. If you're utilizing, camping, slugging, and tunneling in order to gain advantages, especially with even a low tier character such as Ghostface or such as like Skull Merchant, Trapper, even if you're playing a low tier, they still are going to lose their minds over it, of course. Now, I want to try to at least get into maybe what Scott thinks, because we know that Scott definitely leans very, tries to sit on the fence in a lot of ways when it comes to displaying his opinion. So I wanted to at least get an idea of what another perspective on it is. I think that personally, this has already been there, and I think it's just like a lot of burnout going on in the DVD community. And I've been in that situation myself. I just found a new reason to start playing again, and that has been trying to increase my stats with my main, which, as you can see, is Ghostface. Recently been trying to kind of track my wins, losses, and ties and stuff like that, and to me, I found that to be quite fun, just being able to track that information. Can't really explain exactly why that's the case, but for some reason it's enjoyable, so I've just been doing it. And it's kind of really motivated me to continue playing as of late. Doesn't work for everybody, just depends on what works for you. A break is also always a good idea. So let's get into it. I want to see basically what is being stated.
DBD has been awful this past week for me, and it's not even because of Dead by Daylight. The game is pretty much exactly the same. It's just something has snapped in the community or something like that. A little bit of a background. I have been trying to do like a nice guy streak, because I don't know. I find like just playing like I'm in a comp match in just random public matches to just be... I'm just embarrassed with myself if I would ever do something like that. So the only streak I can ever like emotionally accept for myself is if I try to do like a nice guy streak where I try to like, at least double hook everybody. Basically pretending like the new anti-tunnel systems are in the game when they're not actually in the game. I think it adds a bit of a challenge, and it makes things a bit more interesting, and it's a lot easier than just, tunneling one guy out at 3 gens or at, at 3 hooks and stuff like that. So I've always found that to be a somewhat interesting thing to do. But lately, over the past week, I don't know if somebody made a build or something, but I have been struggling to win games like that. Normally, I can win probably 90% of my games playing like that, but the past week, it's been like 50% or something, because every game has had some type of, hyper-focused, stakeout, commodious, 4-man combo. Like, people are either going full comp insane shit, or it's the complete opposite, and people give up instantly to anything that I do. There is no in-between, and that is the most frustrating part. So I can't...
I had to agree with Scott on this. I've also experienced that myself. Now, I do know that it is purely anecdotal, of course, and it can't necessarily really be proven, you know, with a lot of data, of course, unless we actually record that. But at least from my recent memory of, you know, within like a day or so of recording this, I've experienced a similar thing where like I'm going against a lot of teams that are bringing a lot more gen focused builds. Now the thing is, I do play to win a lot of the time, as you guys know, and as I mentioned earlier, I've been trying to track my wins and trying to essentially like try to see like where my win rate's at, like trying to get my markdowns up and stuff like that, just trying to get up there in the leaderboards, because I just think it'd be fun, and I think it would be able to kind of give me a new perspective on the game. And it has taught me a lot, I have to say. It's really recontextualized a lot of my perspectives on the game by doing so. And I would think that, like, in the same way that Twins main Sage has mentioned that, you know, they've played in different MMR levels, whether it be low, average, high. They've just kind of preferred staying at the low to average. I would imagine that maybe Scott might be in that same range, because I know a lot of people just prefer to be with more like a little bit less sweaty matches, or they just enjoy to, as Scott is saying, not really play sweaty. So that usually will keep them at a pretty average MMR, essentially, especially if they're going to play what they consider nice. So to me, I would say, like, on one hand, it is a bit normal, because that's sort of like what I usually go up against, which is a lot of very strong teams and usually very coordinated Swifts, and I'm playing Ghostface, so it's like he's a very weak killer. And I would still say, like, despite that, I'm doing quite well. And that's sort of like where I'm not sure if it's just like that's because it's the norm for me, that's why I'm experiencing it as well. The quitting, less so. I don't know how that really works. I haven't really seen much quitting. I've just seen a lot of like Swifts that are coming into matches bringing like pretty gen focused builds. I'm seeing a lot of Deja Vu, Proof Thyself, usually 2 or 3 of them, and a lot of anti-tunnels and stuff. So like I've said, I'm not sure if that's like just the norm for me, so that's why I'm seeing it too, or if it's like something that's bleeding into the average and MMRs too now, where like everybody's doing it now. And I don't know. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section, if you've experienced the same thing or not. So that's what I kind of want to talk about, is like, do you guys think that that is a possibility? Like, do you think that because of the fact that they aren't getting like these anti-tunnel changes, which would have absolutely destroyed a lot of the balancing for this game, do you think that that might be why we're seeing a lot more disconnecting, a lot more of this? Because me personally, I am in the camp that this was already a thing in the game, and everything else that kind of blew up sort of just prevented us from really remembering or noticing that. But like the Go Next epidemic was there even before they removed the hook pulling, and we already know that the vast majority of the Survivor players are usually very quick to crash out when things don't even go their way. They're usually very burnt out, and they usually, you know, end up wanting wins to be kind of easy. And I feel like there's just more survivors that just do that on average. I can't say 100% for sure. It's not like I have a data sheet to be able to back that up. Of course, this is all anecdotal information, right? This is all just opinion at that point. But it just seems like on average, you're probably going to see just more survivors do it. Now, I think I've seen that happen, like, at least from what I recall, because I have played a couple of matches lately. I've been really tracking all my stats lately on Ghostface, and I do remember like somebody DCing, I think. I don't remember I think it was the fact that I was trying to get somebody out of the game early on Nostromo, and then it was actually pretty funny. They had I think it was like 2 or 3 people had shouldered the burden, so every time, like after the first time that she was hooked and I put her up the second time, they would shoulder the burden the first time. So then I would find her, hook her again, because I think she was quitting. So then I hooked her again, and then somebody else shouldered the burden, and then I think she gave up after that, and then and then I think both the shoulder the burden people DC'd or something like that, if I remember correctly. It was just so freaking funny. I was just so confused, but I was like, I'm playing Ghostface. Like, I don't really have the luxury of being able to spread hooks like that. You know, I don't have any, you know, map traversal or anything. So I kind of have to. You kind of have to do what you got to do with this character. So it comes with the territory. But you know, the point really being that I can't say that I've seen it too often with the go next. I'm calling it the go next epidemic. Because that's what it was before. Like they would get on hook and then immediately just start yanking it so that they can go to the next match. And I think this is like their next form of doing. Maybe like just that right there. It could be the case. That could possibly be the idea. Like the disconnect sort of like window. Maybe that's what's working, and maybe that's what's like kind of giving them that sort of possibility to be able to do that. I don't know. And yeah, I mean, we've also seen this recently with Quiet Kills as well, which I did watch that video and I found it very hilarious, to be honest, but it wasn't really there wasn't really much to discuss, so that's why it won't be included in this video. But shout out to Quiet Kills, man. One of my favorite creators in the DVD space. But I'm really curious to hear your guys' perspective, because like I've said before, I really just think it might just be like the usual burnout that we kind of expected to see in this community. And I was experiencing a lot of the burnout personally. Like I was also you know, kind of going through that sort of experience in recent memory, and then, you know, for whatever reason, me tracking all my data and, you know, in a little spreadsheet and trying to figure out like where my win rate is really at, and like, you know, if I can get my markdowns up, and like the loss rates and stuff like that. Just for some reason, it's just been really fun for me being able to do that, especially with with my main here. So it's been interesting to say the least. But either way, it may not work for everybody. I know the vast majority of people are more interested in the casual experience, and I think like even in a recent video that I posted, I had a lot of comments that did mention that they just prefer to stay in the average MMR, and that's perfectly okay. Like I'm not saying that everybody should be trying to strive to be they're the number one at their character, like to be the best at their character and to be well versed at their character. I'm just somebody that strives to do that. As you guys know, I offer coaching to, you know, help new players or anybody that wants to really improve with their characters and stuff like that. You guys already know that that's, you know, sort of my style, if you will. You know, that's sort of like what I like to do. And yeah, I just wanted to quickly touch on that. I also wanted to touch a little bit on some other changes if you guys are still listening to the Yap Sesh. The new palette changes really are interesting. I thought they were going to just kind of paste in a bunch of like palette locations on the maps already, but they actually did remove some palette locations on certain maps. They actually did add like some more like mind gameable like sort of locations, which was pretty exciting to see. Some of those maps that I saw were the Decimated Borgo, you know, the Vecna map with the castle thing and the dungeon. I had seen it on Eerie of Crows as well. I've seen like some different tiles on there a little bit. I've seen some different tiles on like Nostromo actually. Like I had noticed that the main ship, like in the center with that seating area, doesn't have that palette in the center. So I was really happy to see that. I was really glad that got removed, because that palette was super annoying. Especially as an M1 where I really didn't have any way to catch up. I had to circle it like 100 times just to even get the palette to drop. So it was just good to see that removed. So it's definitely a lot better than I thought it would be. I honestly expected it to be a lot worse. I have also seen other people say that there are way too many palettes, and now it's even harder to get downs. And at least, like, once again, anecdotal experience here, like at least from when I've gone against it, like a lot of the time it really wasn't the pallets that were preventing me from downing them per se. It was definitely just had to do with just the map size and gen speed, really were the biggest factors in my, like, at least from when I was playing the game. That was really the bigger factors, because a lot of the pallets that they did add in the little areas that they did add were playable palettes. Like, they were playable areas. Like, they weren't completely like god palettes every time like they usually are. especially as an M1 with no anti-loop. So I just want to know your guys' thoughts in the comment section. Let me know what you guys think of the new update. What do you guys think of the sort of Go Next epidemic making its return? And while you're down there, check out the original video that's linked in the description. You can also check out the links to support the channel. Consider following on TikTok and Twitch to watch me play Killer live, and consider subscribing for more content like this, as well as, you know, you can watch me play some Ghostface, because we've been grinding them pretty lately, just so that we could try to be the best, you know, as at our character. You know, we try our best to try to raise up our stats and stuff like that. I've just been finding that pretty fun lately. But anyway, I'll see you guys in the next one. Hopefully you enjoyed it.